You know, I really like racing games, I do.
Get down, turn around, show me what you got.
And this is why I'm making today's video, which is going to be me blabbing about racing games for the next 10 minutes or so. Hopefully. To recap, we started with Forza Motorsport 5 this generation, which, I mean, it was basic. And Need for Speed Rivals over on PlayStation was our only option for a racing game for about what felt like a year. And oh my lord, was the longest year of my life. This window, we've had a Need for Speed Payback, The Crew 2, Onrush, Danger Zone 2, and Forza Horizon 4 is just around the corner. So we've had a whole bunch of games in this window, as I would say, that I have actually really enjoyed and I'm excited for because, you know, Forza. Across the board, that's a huge improvement. I don't care if you dislike some of the games or dislike all of the games or you're not excited for it, you just hate everything. Why are you even watching this video if that's the case? Compared to those two games, the games we have now are a bajillion times better. And for example, they're updating Forza Motorsport 7 with content. Like, can you actually, but they're updating a Forza Motorsport game? What? But it's not all happy days. There's still a bunch of issues with racing games. Sure, they've changed from the issues we've had at the beginning of the generation. And in the middle of the generation, it's changed. It's been a roller coaster of a journey. But this video, I want to talk about my positives and negatives when it comes to what we need and what we don't need needs to go away. I guess it works for all games in general if you think about it. Some of them not so much. First up, let's talk positivity. It's the key and all that. It's a good one. We started with Rivals having the ability to paint our cars and put a singular sticker on it, and we were excited because, well, that was still less features than we had in Underground 1, 2. So, but either way, we were happy. We weren't. We were begging at that point. But now we have some of the best customization we've had in forever. If you want licensed stuff, you go Need for Speed. If you want some make-believe Underground style stuff, you go for The Crew at The Crew 2. And even Forza has got into the customization game, which I never ever saw coming ever. And they were actually the first to get the Ferrari body kits into a game. The Ferrari were actually allowing people to change wheels on their cars and all this. It's incredible. Thank you, Forza, for being the first to push the boundaries, unless Need for Speed did it. And then they were like, oh yeah, we'll do it now, but it's a bit late now, Ferrari. A close one to my heart because we don't get many racing games a year. At most, we usually get 3 or 4 big titles, usually 2 big titles a year when it comes to racing games. Well, that's where post-game support comes in. In the past, we've not really had any support other than a few cars as an expansion. Sure, on Most Wanted 2012, we got a map expansion and all this kind of stuff, but let's be honest, free stuff, it's a little bit nicer. Post-game support, we get a whole bunch of stuff. A couple of months after a game comes out, we get a whole bunch of updates that adds a whole bunch of new content. For now, for example, The Crew 2 is adding Gator Rush, which is going to add a whole new discipline, whole new kind of redo of the upgrade part system. They're adding new vehicles soon, which are free, may I say. Even Forza is jumping into the game this time around and are supporting Forza Motorsport 7 with updates, and they're going to support Forza Horizon 4 with actual content as it goes through. They started it with Forza-thon in the last game, but this time round they're wanting to properly dive in and add proper post-game support, which is so great because Forza has definitely been dwindling on that, but now they're all getting it. Love it or hate it, Need for Speed 2015 was one of those that pioneered this. All updates were free, all extra stuff added to the game was free, and it was nice. They added quite a few updates. Sure, I wish it lasted a bit longer, and it's not perfect in any way. For example, Payback, we got less updates than we did in 2015. Either way, it's a good thing. It still needs some work. Please, you're doing a good thing. To go alongside that, we also have better paid DLC models. So what I'm talking about is, for example, in The Crew 2, you pay for the season pass. That means you just get the cars a week early instead of you're the only one that gets them. Everybody gets them just a week later. So for those that don't want them early, they don't have to pay for the season pass. They get them still. They buy them in-game, which I actually would personally prefer to have to buy them, but let's not get into that because people will disagree with me and rip me head off. Forza is, but they're making it a little bit better, actually, in the fact that this one does include everything. In fact, you will get the expansions that are going to be added to the game just for buying the Ultimate Edition. Previously, you had to buy a separate pass to get all the stuff, which just didn't make any sense to me. And then on Need for Speed, it was a little bit topsy-turvy. When the content came out, in my personal opinion, I liked the pricing of it. Sure, for some people it might be a little bit steep, but it was 2 cars. Yes, not a lot of cars, but you got them for like £4 or £3, $3.99, something like that. And the amount of customization you had on those, because they were generally, for the most part, super builds. I think all of them should be at least have a lot of parts, a lot of customization in them to be DLC cars. If they don't have them, I don't really see a point. But either way, we've had an improvement on DLC compared to what it was in Need for Speed Rivals and Forza Motorsport 5, which is actually basically the same. I don't know why I said that.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Sure, it's not been the smoothest run. For example, Need for Speed was hit or miss for some people. The cruise system was hit or miss for some people. But in my personal opinion, both of those at launch were in their best state. And I know the crew, they're going to make it a little bit easier, so I can't really say that now to say that it's going to be worse later on. But to me, the fact that you have to put more effort in to upgrade your cars, I like this. Now, sure, not everyone has all the time in the world there. The crew was a good balance in where you could really max out a car super easy, and I did most of them. If not, you could do all of them within 5 hours to max out one car and the parts go across. Need for Speed, I like the system. I really enjoyed it. I like perks being on parts. I like them to have a bit of randomization. I would personally prefer there to be a world where you don't get them for doing events. You get money from doing events. You buy parts, better parts, and as you progress with that car, you unlock better parts. Like, I honestly, let's face it, the best upgrade model in a game is GTA 5 because you have to race in that car to get the parts. GTA 5, Forza Horizon 4, I'm not exactly sure, but from what it sounds like they're stepping in the right direction and making it a little bit more rewarding and there's more effort involved to unlock some certain stuff. For example, there's going to be a whole bunch of Forzathon stuff you can do, and you get Forzathon points, and you can spend those points on rare cars and that sort of stuff. This is the big one for me because a whole generation in general, the whole of the gaming right now is multiplayer focused. I don't care if you dislike or you like Fortnite, PUBG. I enjoyed some PUBG. I played a little bit of Fortnite. Wasn't my cup of tea. But the point is, people more and more from the last generation to now are playing more multiplayer than single player. There's a lot of games where I used to jump into the single player and thoroughly complete that first, which I do in most cases still today. But for the most part, most people jump into the multiplayer and probably don't even touch the single player. Again, Forza, which I didn't expect them to do anything like this ever, we're actually pioneering this in that the game is going to be multiplayer when you jump in. It has a shared world, which is taken from the crew and taken from a whole bunch of games. But the fact is, they're all learning from each other now and they're becoming their own. There's a way to separate Forza and the crew in Need for Speed. They're all different in their own ways. Sure, you may prefer one over the other. That's absolutely fine. But overall, everyone now gets their own type of game. There's Need for Speed Extremely Arcade. There's the crew. There's kind of a middle ground. Not totally simulation, but it has more simulation options that you can play with, that sort of thing. And there's more rewarding kind of car stuff. In Forza, if you want to mess about with cars, you buy a car, you upgrade it, bang. I used to complain about that because, I would still personally prefer there to be more of a system involved to, if I max out my car, there's more to it. But for those that want that, there's a game for it. I don't want to change your game, just don't change my game where I want to grind. And one last thing that I just completely skimmed over the fact that we're getting more RPG elements and stuff is that we're talking about having characters now walking into houses and exploring garages and all that kind of thing. That is a great step in the direction. Test Drive Unlimited 2, Test Drive Unlimited 1, way ahead of its time, pioneering this stuff. And now it's coming to the other games. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. We're now going to talk about some of the issues I have.
Sit down. How you been?
This is something that we're seeing in general, a push for more happy, family-friendly, yay, everybody wins. Forza, if you win an online event, you're not gonna get, oh my god, you won. It's gonna be like, wow, everybody, congratulations. The characters in Payback, even the most aggressive, so as to be fair, in Payback, some of the most aggressive, the gambler and stuff, pretty cool characters, but for the most part, the main characters are like, yay, happy. And in the crew too, the characters, for the most part, yeah, I want aggression. There was nothing more that drove me more than the aggression of characters in Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005. Still a pioneer. The run, there was some less aggression in there, but there was aggression in general, and it made you go, oh, I want to play this, I want to beat this, I have someone to go against, I have a rival. In Pokemon, I know it's completely off topic, but in Pokemon, they're removing Gary, which is someone it's a rival, he's the most basic rival, he's not even that much of a bad guy. And now they're replacing him with with a friendly rival, and they literally advertise it as a friendly rival. We don't want friendly all the time. I don't care. You need to look at my age demographic. When I played Most Wanted 05, I was probably too young. I don't know, but either way, aggression is good. Cross aggression, amazing.
Well, look what the underground Madloops.
This is an issue on every single racing game I've played this generation. Other than the Crew 1, I think, actually. Need for Speed had PvP at launch. Great. Great for the 5 people that actually play it, Ghost. I want free roam. They had free roam. Everybody's already finished with the game and sold it. The Crew 2 doesn't have PvP, but if they had PvP, is that going to add end game? I don't think so. I need more end game. I mean, there is the grind for me, but as I said, once I've done all the car classes, which takes about 5 hours max, one of the classes took me about 3.5 hours. What am I going to do after I've maxed out all my cars? Sure, I can get better bits. That's a good thing for me. But for someone that doesn't want to grind out bits, what is there for them to do? Like, allow people to create their own races. That's literally the most simple thing ever. Allow people to create their own races, which Forza is doing. Why is Forza pioneering all of a sudden? It sells less than literally all of the other games, but they're pioneering. I need some of that Microsoft money.
£1/4 you chicken nugget.
One that's dear to me is something that Need for Speed needs to address badly. Lowest end cars is like a Volvo or something that's old stuff, sure, but there needs to be more low end cars. There needs to be Corsas, there needs to be Astras, and I know I mention this all the time in every single game, but we need to start in those cars to appreciate the higher end cars. This is part of the whole progression thing, which I'll talk about later.
Jim, you're on a roll.
One of the progression paths on the Crew 2, I think honestly took me probably like 2 hours, if that. It did not take me any time whatsoever, and I know I completely understand and appreciate the fact that they've got multiple progression paths, and overall my game time is still more than most games. Need for Speed Payback, I think the length of that game was pretty good. It was pretty average, I mean, but games in general, they're getting shorter. I don't know if I'm just flying through them, but most of the time when I'm doing a Let's Play, I expect it to take me about a month or so to get through a game because of how slow I have to go through these games, but I'm getting through them like nothing. But I would prefer a nice short story, short progression that's amazing, rather than a drawn out, really boring one. For example, The Run, which is one of the shortest games in the world, but one of the best games, racing games I've ever played, and it was like 2 hours to complete it. And I was upset about that at the time, but now that I've grown older, I'm like, that was still one of the most action-packed and most fun experiences Need for Speed has ever done. Forza, I don't even know what to say about Forza. I don't know how the new game's going to be, but in general, how it is you buy a Forza game, you jump in, instantly you have a Ferrari after literally 5 minutes. In Forza Motorsport 5, 6, and 7, I think I got a Bugatti Veyron on the first wheel spin. Game longevity, man. Allow us to play games. We want to play your games. Don't just make it over and done with that quickly. Give us a reason to keep playing.
How dare you show your face here? Whoa, hey. Go.
Another one, the Crew 2, you'll notice that there's lack of a story. I mean, there was a little bit there, which I'm thankful for, but I'm hoping there's more of that because I liked some of the characters. Latrell was super cool. I liked the idea behind the story of him trying to legalize things, that sort of thing. Forza has not had a story and will not have a story. They have Horizon stories, which I think is going to be little tiny snippets, but I don't think they're going to have a proper story. They had one in Horizon 1, but I haven't done it since. I doubt they're going to add it back. It's easier to make a game without a story. Need for Speed, although the story isn't fantastic, I'm super glad it has a story, and I'm hoping that they keep improving on it and getting better at it and putting more money into it by us buying the games and then them making a better story. Like, even as I said, 2 hours, The Run, brilliant story, brilliant characters, and I would buy again. I might play it. I might do a third, seventh let's play. This is the final category I would like to talk about, which is dear to my heart, which is in general, I guess, summing up a whole bunch of these categories into one, which is progression in the terms of, as I said, in Forza, I start the game, I have a Ferrari. Sure, that's what Forza wants to do, but I don't want every game to be Forza, and that's what seems to be the case. And I think the problem is also, I hate to jump, they're going to be like, oh, it's the media's fault. But it is. A lot of the reviewers and stuff, they're very used to Forza throwing these amazing cars to them straight away, which is, it's fun to drive, but doesn't make the cars feel special. I feel like Need for Speed and the Crew make your cars feel more special. I'm more attached to these cars. If I went on Forza and sold a car, I wouldn't really care. I'd just rebuy it. I have all the money in the world, you know? Whereas I've put much more time into upgrading these cars with specific parts in Payback and in the Crew 2. And that's the point of those systems. I like to play my games longer. And as I say, these racing games come out technically at the minimum every 2 years, because a Horizon doesn't come out for 2 years. Need for Speed, 2 years. Hopefully we actually get another new, but you know what I mean. And the Crew was like, what? The expansion comes out in a year, like the big main paid expansion, I guess. Whatever. Essentially, we don't get that much stuff, racing games coming out per year. So I would really, really like, I mean, I get Forza, I guess you want a year of content, but there's no year of progression in Forza. I'm not going to be playing it in 3 months, never mind 12. I do feel like we're stepping in a little bit of the right direction, but also taking steps back in the terms of progression and making games much easier, and in general making them races easy. For example, there was a stream with the Crew and people were saying, oh, they were saying we're gonna make the game easier, we're gonna make the AI balance it a little bit more, that kind of thing. But what about for the people that really destroy the AI? What about the people that want a harder AI? I go against these long races and I go on hard and I'm a million miles ahead of them. I want some like veteran difficulty. Don't just make games easier, make them more difficult for people that want them to be more difficult too. There's both sides, and let me tell you, the people that play the most will probably be the ones that want to choose the harder difficulty and want the more, you know, higher difficulty that get higher rewards, that kind of thing. But in terms of progression in Forza, for example, they have this cool new menu in where you can progress in certain different aspects. The Crew has something as well where you don't have to choose everything. You progress in certain things you want to do so, and as you progress in that, you get to up perks and all this kind of stuff. I feel like, in my opinion, the best two progression-based games were Need for Speed Payback at launch, and then the Crew 2 as it is now. I know both of them, well, Need for Speed has changed, and I know that the Crew is going to get a little bit easier, which frustrates me a little bit, because for me, the type of person that's still playing the game and still wants to play the game a lot, it's kind of a step backwards for me. But that, to me, is the current state of racing games. It's quite a bit better, but also quite a bit worse in some areas. And I think this is a lot to do with companies in general pushing for no more grinding. One of the statements that EA came out and said, we don't want people to grind to then go off and show an RPG. They better have grinding in an RPG. It's kind of the point. Make us angry. Make us try. Don't make your game kind of stale after a little while. We need more end game content. Forza's going to have this Forzathon thing. I would like to see a proper return of proper speed lists on Need for Speed Most Wanted 2012 was the best multiplayer on a racing game, I think, of like competitive. It was enjoyable. There were some fun, silly challenges. I would like to see more of that, collectively jumping together, that kind of thing. Look back. Burnout Paradise is doing multiplayer better. The remaster, the original, came out in 2008, is doing multiplayer better to this day than most racing games coming out and that are out right now. Fix your damn game. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I enjoy making these from time to time, to kind of just reflecting and tell you my opinions on all this stuff. If you disagree with me, let me know down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Do you agree? It would be great to hear feedback on what you say, because it's not just about what I say. When it comes to these videos, obviously the developers look at the comments too. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't want to keep you any longer. Smash like if you enjoyed this video, please. It helps me out a whole lot. Subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, guys. Peace.